Morning.
I am so proud to introduce our final 26th elected official of the year and share a little bit about what makes me an MS activist. You heard yesterday throughout the conference about the simple hook, line, and sinker outlines that we'll use in our Capitol Hill meetings today. You'll want to hook your audience with a personal statement about how the issue affects you. Support your hook with a line or facts from the society's position, paper, or talking points, and leave your audience with a sinker or request detailing what the elected official can do to support our issues. For example, if I were to do a hook, line, and sinker for my story on access to MS medications, I would say, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in 2003. Back then, there were only 4 disease-modifying drugs, and they were all injectable. In 2017, there are now 14 drugs, and 3 of those are orals. It's exciting to have so many options. But along with the increased number, the costs have increased as well. They've increased nearly 400% since 2004. Even the cheapest of the drugs can cost over $70,000 per year. In my case, over the 13 years since I was diagnosed, I've taken and failed on 4 of the different types of MS drugs. When my MRI showed 2 new lesions last spring, my only remaining alternative was a newer drug, which is a 5-day infusion. Each day requires one of these vials. Probably can't see it, it's really small. Each of these vials can cost over $20,000. By my best estimate, my 5-day treatment cost over $120,000. I'll have a second treatment, a 3-day course this July, and I can assume that it'll end up costing almost $100,000. I'm lucky because I have medical insurance through my employer, but what about those who don't? These medications are cost prohibitive and seem to get higher every year. We appreciate the legislation introduced last year requiring drug manufacturers to submit a justification report if increasing their price over 10% or more over 12 months. This year, we're asking for additional language to be added, requiring the report if increasing the price by 25% over 36 months. Both of these issues greatly help maintain transparency in drug prices, and we would love to have your support in this issue. As you can see, access to MS medications is an issue I'm very passionate about, and thankfully for me, so is one of our U.S. representatives from Texas. As a leader of the Affordable Drug Pricing Task Force, he is committed to bringing more oversight and transparency on how drug prices are determined and developing legislative solutions so people with MS and other conditions can access the medications that they need. In fact, I shared my personal story and my thoughts on this topic at a roundtable he hosted in my district. A member of the Congressional MS Caucus, he also increased funding for the NIH and the MSCDMRP, voted for the 21st Century Cures Act, and supports improved access to individually configured wheelchairs known as complex rehabilitative technology. Here to rev us up as we head to Capitol Hill and drive change, I am pleased to honor Lloyd Doggett of the 35th District in Texas with our 2016 U.S. Representative of the Year award.
I'm going to put it down here and talk just a little bit. Lynn, thank you not only for the award, but for the advocacy, the determination that you provided. I think we first met at an MS walk here about 2 or 3 years ago in San Antonio, knowing how many people are appreciative of your leadership and the extent of the commitment across Bexar County in San Antonio for this issue. I know one person with MS very well, and that's my daughter, Lisa. Lisa is a physician. When in her late 30s, she was finally diagnosed with MS. Frankly, she was a little relieved because the erratic nature of her symptoms and her medical knowledge about everything that could be causing this had convinced her that she must have a very serious brain tumor. And when she found out it was only MS, she thought it was remarkable. Many of you will envy her with her continued ability to run and to be actively involved in the community. But like you, she always has that cloud of uncertainty lingering over her. She's now through her third type of medication, but the lesions kept reappearing in the scans. And so she's waiting to get her immunity just right to be able to begin a clinical trial next month. I think that the challenges that many of you have faced are bigger and more immediate, but know that I have some personal insight into this problem that I bring to it, and it gives this honor a particular meaning to me and to my family. Without a cure in sight, the stakes are so very high in what you're doing today. President Trump's so-called skinny budget fails to recognize that more cuts to funding that we just got increased to the National Institutes of Health can only set us back. The stakes are high because far too many Americans, just like Lynn was saying, cannot afford their medications. All of us want the prices to be where they will encourage new cures, new solutions to problems not only for MS but all kinds of diseases. But we don't have to be price gouged with the highest prices in the entire world to get to that point. It is truly amazing what has been happening with prescription drug prices. And of course, the issue timed so well for your conference is the question of the Affordable Care Act. While much of what you will be talking about and most effectively talking about is your story and what it means if people with pre-existing conditions cannot find accessible health care, let me tell you, as the ranking Democrat on the tax subcommittee, about one feature that kind of ties it all together that hasn't gotten quite as much attention. I've said that there's kind of a Reader's Digest sweepstakes prize in this repeal bill. It's a $25 billion prize, but you've not been included in the winner's circle. That $25 billion prize will go to branded pharmaceutical manufacturers. It is a total windfall. They do not have to pass a dollar on to you of the $25 billion savings. It's part of a huge set of tax breaks that are occurred in eliminating anything that ever funded the Affordable Care Act other than making cuts to people on Medicaid and the like. So including a $25 billion tax break to the very pharmaceutical companies that are charging the prices that Lynn described and that many of you know all too well, as my daughter says, the price that I'm charged for this medication would buy a nice mid-sized car. Actually, I think it's gotten up to a luxury class car, the way these prices keep going up. And so it's important that we seek an improvement in the Affordable Care Act, but not one that is just a huge tax cut for undeserving entities and special interest groups like the pharmaceutical industry without getting anything in return from an industry that even President Trump has described as having prices that are murderous. I believe that the stories that you have to tell this morning are very important. There's nothing like taking our discussion, as I've just said, of billions or millions and turning it into telling the story of one life at a time. The work that you're doing will help us on the Prescription Drug Task Force, and hopefully it will help us turn the tide on the Affordable Care Act. I think the vote is very, very close. We will probably be voting tomorrow night, but if the votes aren't there, having gone through the battle over the original Part D Medicare prescription drug benefit, where we voted on it from about 2 in the morning until about 6 in the morning one night, this could go on for a while until you're back home. But as you come to speak about your stories and what the effect will be of what's going on here, I think it's important to get votes against this bill. There's clearly a division between those who want to replace Obamacare with nothing care and those who want to replace it with little care. or don't care. I think you need to tell each person, regardless of the perspective that they're coming from, that what they do, how they vote on this measure, is literally a matter of life and death for many, many people in our country, because it is. Thank you for your award.